Hello and welcome to Country Life Simple. Today I'm going to bake some miniature bundt cakes, or Kugelhupf in German, since I'm German. I found these little silicone bundt cake molds, and I think they're a great idea because we're only two people. We don't eat that much cake, so I can make some more and put them in the freezer into individual portions and just defrost them for, a Sunday afternoon or morning tea, or if you get some visitors. So let's start on the cake. I already melted 70 grams of butter, and now I'm going to add 80 grams of raw sugar. I prefer raw sugar, but you can take any other sugar. Raw sugar makes it a bit chewier, which I like. So I've got the scales here and measuring up 80 grams. Then I'm going to add some vanilla, and I'm just going to use the vanilla extract, about half a teaspoon. Then I'm going to add some lemon rind. This is from my tree, and probably half a tablespoon. Maybe a bit more. I like it lemony. I now have whisked the ingredients together, and now I'm going to add the buttermilk. That is about 150 mils. If you don't have buttermilk, you can use normal milk, and just to 1 cup of milk add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice or vinegar. I prefer lemon juice, but you can use either, whatever you have on hand, and that and then let it stand for about 5 minutes. And that will give you buttermilk. So I'm now going to add 150 ml, measuring it up. Should have shook it. Okay. And then I whisk it again. And now I'm going to add my flour, also 150 grams. That was a bit too much. And this is just plain flour. And some baking powder. And I'm going to add, what is it? This is a teaspoon. The washing is ready. It reminded me that the washing is ready. I need half a teaspoon of baking powder. And in the meantime, I'm preheating the oven on 180 degrees. see, there wasn't as many little Google hoops or bundt cakes as you might have been expecting. We planning to clean out the freezer in a little while, so I'm trying not to make anything new to add to the freezer. And I of course couldn't wait to try one out. The leftover ones I will put some icing on, and I make the icing out of 100 grams of icing sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, just to give it a nice lemon flavor. You also can use the buttermilk instead, like 100 grams of icing sugar and 2 tablespoons of buttermilk. They're really nice and lemony. They're really juicy, and I really enjoyed one for morning tea in this beautiful weather today. And now I'll show you what you can do with the leftover buttermilk. We're gonna make a buttermilk bread. Stay tuned. Alright, so with the leftover buttermilk, we're now making a buttermilk bread. For that we use some plain flour, 350 grams. I'm going to measure this up now. Yep, just enough. And then we take 100 grams of rye flour. This is actually just packages I recycled. I do buy my flour in bulk and keep it in the freezer. So 100 grams of rye flour. And then we add a little salt. Actually, before we add the salt, we have to add some spelt flour as well. 150 grams of spelt flour. And then we add the salt. 2 teaspoons. Just trying to find the right teaspoon. This is the leftover buttermilk from our lemon buttermilk Gugelhupf or lemon buttermilk bundt cake. I've added 1 teaspoon of honey and 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. The buttermilk has room temperature. I just left it out on the bench when I was making the Gugelhupf, the bundt cake. And now I will add that to the flour, knead it through, and then let it rest for 2 hours at a warm place. Instead of making buttermilk bread, you can also make buttermilk pancakes. They're really nice and they're really fluffy and thick. You use 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 egg, and the leftover buttermilk. Mix this all together and pour it in a hot frying pan, and then serve the finished pancakes with blueberries and maple syrup. Tastes really nice. Enjoy. Before I clean up the kitchen, I make pizza. Tonight I'm going to make 4 pizzas, and for the dough I use 900 grams of plain flour, 500 milliliters of water, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of dry yeast, 2 tablespoons of sugar that will feed the yeast, and a little bit of olive oil. I also like to add some garlic. This is some dehydrated ground garlic out of my garden from the last harvest while I'm waiting for the next one to grow. We really like garlic, so I add some of that into the base as well. You don't have to, you can omit that. I also like to add some cracked pepper into the base as well. It tastes nice. Once I have made the dough, let it rest for 30 minutes before preparation. Before I clean up the kitchen, I make pizza. Tonight I'm going to make 4 pizzas, and for the dough I use 900 grams of plain flour, 500 milliliters of water, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of dry yeast, 2 tablespoons of sugar that will feed the yeast, and a little bit of olive oil. I also like to add some garlic. This is some dehydrated ground garlic out of my garden from the last harvest while I'm waiting for the next one to grow. We really like garlic, so I add some of that into the base as well. You don't have to, you can omit that. I also like to add some cracked pepper into the base as well. It tastes nice. Once I have made the dough, let it rest for 30 minutes before preparation.